Just take my hand and you'll be fine. We'll keep on walking through the storm. I'll keep you warm. I'll keep you warm.
It is not easy to get our heads around the earth, having existed for billions of years, probably existing for millions, if not billions more, and our own life in comparison, however long and fruitful, being an almost infinitesimally insignificant instant in the middle of it all. So fleeting and so far from either end of the story that many of us behave like individual black holes, mentally warping time to write ourselves into the grand finale.
The world will end with me.
No, with me.
The world will end with me.
The world will end with me. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans and 1 in 7 worldwide believe the world will end during their lifetime. That's a lot of people who don't just think the world revolves around them, they think it stops around them too. Our brains are imperfect. They're not machines. Our thought processes are filled with shortcuts and bypasses to minimize the amount of effort expended on coming up with an answer. If we're right often enough, we're more likely to survive. Unfortunately, in this complicated modern world, some of these shortcuts are causing more problems than they're worth.
One is called the availability heuristic.
Put simply, we tend to overestimate the chance of something happening if we've already seen examples of it. 1931.
Predicting the end of the world has been immemorially the privilege and pastime of fanatics and charlatans. The cry of modern world enders is that if anyone ever succeeds in exploding one atom of matter, the whole universe will go off like a bunch of firecrackers.
A colossal catastrophe might ensue,
declared the New York American. Will this planet twirling peacefully for a million years be blown to smithereens?
1956.
Tensions between the USSR and the United States are higher than ever, infecting American domestic life with the constant threat of
Nuclear warfare.
Children are taught to duck and cover in school drills as if wooden desks could ever obscure them from
Atomic annihilation.
An epidemic of popular films horrifies moviegoers with depictions of devastation and mutant creatures. Converting basements into backyard bunkers becomes a family bonding activity, and public spaces are made into designated fallout shelters, as everyone in America waits to end with a bang! 1999. It was nearly the dawn of a new millennium, and the transition to year 2000 had a large obstacle standing in its way: the problem of computers. Computer programmers had long been rendering years with the last 2 digits only. So what would happen when 1999 clicked over into 2000? Would computers think we're moving back in time to 1900? Then anything electronic might go crazy.
Massive power failures. Financial records gone.
Elevators crashing.
Planes falling from the sky!
Missiles being launched by mistake.
The end of us all!
As doomsday approaches,
approached. Many people prepared for the worst. December 31st arrived. So, we counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year! Happy New Century! Happy New Millennium! And nothing happened. The world will end with me. The welfare of the community is no longer a priority. Instead, it's increasingly our responsibility to look after our own health. We must prepare for our own financial security in retirement. We must educate ourselves.
Essentially, it is up to us to survive. Any problems we may face are accordingly our own fault. The extent to which this attitude has taken a grip on society can be seen in the bunkers and bolt holes of the mega rich.
We're doing what we can to safeguard ourselves. We just have greater means of doing so than the rest of you.
Humanity has faced serious challenges before. So what is behind the societal loss of hope? Whatever happened to the glistening white and flashing lights vision of our future? Despite the immense amount of positive things advancement in science, technology, and medicine have done for us, there are also all these unintended consequences that we're now facing. With antibiotics came antibiotic-resistant superbugs.
With readily available electricity
Came pollution and climate change. With nuclear energy came radiation.
With the internet came near constant surveillance. Making matters worse are our human coping mechanisms.
When faced with too many risks, we merely blank out those we perceive as being less immediate.
If we take them all on, we can become immobilized. And with humanity frozen in the headlights of fate, everything we've ever made could disappear. There would be no harvest. The spring rains woke the dormant tillers, and bright green shoots sprang from the moist earth and rose like sleepers stretching after a long nap. As spring gave way to summer, the bright green stalks darkened, became tan, turned golden brown. The day grew long and hot. Thick towers of swirling black clouds brought rain, and the brown stems glistened in the perpetual twilight that dwelled beneath the canopy. The wheat rose and the ripening heads bent in the prairie wind.
a rippling curtain,
an endless, undulating sea that stretched to the horizon. At harvest time, there was no farmer to pluck a head from the stalk, rub the head between his calloused hands, or blow the chaff from the grain. There was no reaper to chew the kernels or feel the delicate skin crack between his teeth. The farmer had died of the plague, and the remnants of his family had fled to the nearest town, where they too succumbed, adding their numbers to the billions. The old house built by the farmer's grandfather was now a deserted island, surrounded by an infinite sea of brown. The end of
short few 100,000 years of absence. We were here, and then we won't be. It'll be as if we never happened.
Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine, and the nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watch the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees
going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room?
And the curtain fluttered. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's scars. Praise the mutilated world. And the gray feather, a thrush lost,
and the gentle light that strays and vanishes
and returns. The world will end with me. All right, everybody, rewind the heads. Okay, so good. This is awesome, amazing. Okay, amazing. Okay, good morning, Ethan. Okay, what are you going to say? You look lovely. You're really extra. They're a lot lower over here. It's going down. Okay, we're good. Okay, we're live in 5, 4, 3. 2020.
The current COVID-19 pandemic has led to existential crisis.
La actual pandemia de COVID-19 ha llevado a una crisis existencial.
De huidige COVID-19-pandemie heeft geleid tot existentiële crisis.
One way of finding meaning in this is through apocalyptic narratives.
Apocalypsis, in the original etymological understanding of the word, is a sudden breaking point in human destiny, unveiling an ultimate truth that has always been present, but remains most of the time hidden, denied, or forgotten.
The end times mark the realization of justice deferred, an end to suffering and exile, restitution for the sufferings inflicted upon the innocent, and reconciliation of humans with each other, nature, and the divine. In other words, the horrors of all-encompassing disaster
simultaneously contain the seeds of utopia.
It will take years or decades for the significance of 2020 to be fully understood, but we can be sure that as an authentically global crisis, it is also a global turning point.
There is a great deal of emotional, physical, and financial pain in the immediate future.
but a crisis of this scale will never be truly resolved until many of the fundamentals of our social and economic life have been remade. The apocalypse as history's end is made acceptable with the belief that there will be a new beginning.
Beginnings are so often disguised as inevitable conclusions.
Sooner or later, those who are convinced of our imminent doom will inevitably be proven right. Taken away in our minds is the realization that this will mean the loss of meaning itself. Hundreds of generations worth of
Innovation,
creativity,
problem-solving,
benevolence,
and inspiration
will end in nothing.
everything humanity has ever created will become worthless. And that includes our own small contributions.
So,
in the long, long
Shouldn't we make the most of it while we're on stage? The world begins with me.
I think a lot of creativity is collaboration and going with the flow of events as they happen and using the circumstances to your advantage as much as you can, because we never expected, 3/4 of the stuff that happened. And then the rest of it was very carefully planned. So it's a mixture of hard work, good luck, and rolling with the punches. I worked them to the bone at times, and they still just did the best that they could, and it was the best there was.